So good afternoon, everybody. This session is about how to make what we are doing as a company to make internet affordable. The way we have structured the session is that initially there's a small part about India as a country, the economy, the various factors which are barriers to making internet affordable. And going forward, we'll also be discussing about the various initiatives that we as a company have taken to make the internet affordable to the masses. So starting off, starting with the Indian economy, which is young and growing. So there are just two big important points. It's a busy slide, but I think the important points that we need to note here is that as an economy, we are growing in leaps and bounds, and it's expected that in the next 20 years is going to be the time for India, as the last 20 years was the time for China. And more important is the fact that given our current population status, more than 40% of our population is in the 24 to 40 kind of age group, which obviously means that going forward, in terms of actual economy, India has got a much better chance of doing the best as compared to the rest of the world. So that is something which is a big USP for us. And this is something which is also going to be extremely important to drive internet adoption going forward. Because it is the young who are generally the early adopters, and they start using internet as a way of their life. Going to the next slide, which is about where we are standing currently. Comparing India to most of the other countries in the world, we are among the lowest in the internet penetration. So starting off, there's a UK at a 92% penetration, and then there is a Mexico at 45%, Nigeria 45%. We are at 27%. And even this number is actually a misnomer, because this means the total number of internet connections divided by the total population. As a country, we are a country which is completely dominated by dual SIM phones. So if there is anybody who's using two internet connections, two SIMs, this will be shown as 2. So 27% actually means the topmost number possible about internet current penetration in India. The actual number will be close to around 18 to 19%. That is the number of actual subscribers of India who are currently using internet. And that is, again, like I said, a major opportunity area, because we have 80% of the current population which is still not using internet. Although when we talk statistics, we say that we have a 35% penetration, but the actual number is closer to 20%. So we have an 80% opportunity for us where we can actually use, penetrate with respect to data. The next big, I think, issue where we're currently on is the rural and urban divide. So if you start comparing as to tele-density and internet penetration across the rural and the urban divide of India, so we have an urban of having around 153% penetration. Obviously, what it means is primarily dual SIMs. And we have a rural, which including dual SIMs, only at 49% tele-density. So that means 50% of rural is still completely uncovered in terms of even consumers using telephones. So internet penetration is still a long way off. Coming to internet penetration, even in urban, it's only 54%. Rural is 13%. And total India, like we mentioned, is 27%. So essentially, if you divide this by a 70% factor, which I spoke about earlier, we're talking about a 10% penetration in rural, we're talking about a 45% penetration in urban, and 20% in India. So that's where we currently are. So we can say that on an average, if penetration less than 15%, the next 5 to 10 years is a time when we can easily shoot up from 15 to around 45 to 50%. And that is what most of the projections are. It's going forward, which we'll be sharing with you. So this is, I think, the key slide in this presentation, which is the factors which actually influence internet penetration. Now, there are 3 sets of factors. So coming to the first set, now these are the macroeconomic factors and stuff like spectrum. So these are not directly under anybody's influence, and it's outside our sphere of influence. Essentially, what it means is that we will be covering this in detail, but these 2 factors are one of the reasons why one of our penetration is completely one of the lowest in the country, in the globe. Sorry. The second set of factors are the availability of relevant content in terms of what a consumer can use internet for, and also devices. So of late, over the last 2 years, the cost of devices has completely come down. But having said that, these 2 also still are something which is an external ecosystem which is controlling the penetration of internet. The last 2, the ones in green, are the ones which is completely under the influence of the telecom operators, which is coverage in terms of and the data pricing. This is where a telecom operator can actually play the maximum role to ensure that the coverage in rural is going up as fast as coverage in urban, to ensure the data pricing is affordable to the masses, and that's where we'll be covering the maximum part of this presentation also. Coming to the first point, which is the macroeconomic factors. So there are so the internet penetration depends primarily on 2 or 3 factors. One is literacy, obviously, because consumers have to use internet, and two, it's the per capita income. So the red line you see in this graph is the per capita income in dollars. So there's a US with a 56,000 per capita income, and there's India which has got a $1,688 of a per capita income. Now, given the fact that the per capita income that you see in India is one of the lowest in the entire globe, so obviously the internet penetration cannot be expected to be at par with the rest of the countries. There are even countries like Nigeria and South Africa which have got more than double of our current per capita income. The second part is the literacy rates. So literacy again plays a very important role in terms of deciding internet penetration. So although we are still better than countries like maybe like Nigeria and other South African countries, but on the whole we are at 72%. We are still drastically lower than the Western hemisphere, which is currently at hovering around 98 to 99%. So given these two factors, what essentially we are saying is that even assuming that the other factors which are under influence are influenced positively, we still have a glass ceiling of the maximum internet penetration that we can actually get to. The only, I think, silver lining in this entire slide is the fact that the positive economic headwinds is boding good. Obviously, there are more and more consumers who are becoming more data savvy. We see that education levels are going up. We see that the basic even spending levels are going up. So essentially, the next 5 to 10 years can see a lot of internet penetration happening, given the fact that in spite of having a 72% population being educated, the penetration is still at 15%. So there is a 4x gap which can easily be covered. The next part which I mentioned is about the devices. So even when we speak about devices, availability of a reasonably good smartphone oblique dongle oblique tablet is important to ensure that there is a ease of data usage. So I've divided the slide into 4 parts. The first part talks about the 2G, 3G, 4G split. And of course, there's also a non-data feature phone. So as we see, the number of 3G and 4G devices are growing up exponentially. The second part of the chart shows the industry smartphone split. Says in 2016, 3G will be 51 and 2G is 42%. These were IDC estimates which came in at the end of 2015. But even in Q1 of 2016, we see that 4G has become more than 3G. So obviously these numbers will completely change by end of 2016. The number of 4G devices coming on board will be much more than 3G. The bottom quadrant is about the current handset install base. Today in India, there are approximately something like 35 crore subscribers of data, of which around 23 crores are 2G and around 12 crores are 3G. And the 3G installed base of handsets is around 20 crores. So even out of the 20 crores of 3G installed base, only 12 to 13 crores are actual users, which means that there is a huge potential of consumers having 3G devices who may or may not be in 3G areas, but are definitely going to become 3G users if there is coverage there. So the handset ecosystem, being a detriment to internet growth, is becoming smaller and smaller. So going forward, handsets will only help in amplifying the growth rather than restricting the growth, which was not the case 3 to 4 years back, wherein handset availability was one of the key reasons for adoption of internet being an issue. And if you see the last quadrant here, this also shows that there is a very strong tendency in the Indian population to directly bypass 3G and move directly to 4G. So one of the most important things that a consumer currently is searching in Google for today is 4G. So there are a lot of consumers who are currently on feature phones or 2G phones or directly moving to a 4G phone. So essentially it also means that going forward, internet adoption is going to be definitely fueled both by availability of 4G handsets and the increasing in 4G coverage as well as 3G coverage. So all these factors put together are going to ensure that internet adoption, at least definitely in the urban areas and to a great extent in the rural areas, are going to happen. Devices are not going to be a constraint, and obviously there is also going to be a very strong propensity for consumers to directly move to 4G from maybe 2G. One more point in this particular slide is the fact that 2G handsets, which is initially the prime growth engine for devices, has considerably slowed down. They've been eaten up both by 3G, 4G on top, and there is also an increasing trend of getting cheaper and cheaper devices because of increasing tele density happening in the rural areas. So there are a lot of phones currently available with prices as low as 499 rupees available, which are completely not even data enabled, but selling fairly well, because there even voice is a fairly important consideration for the consumer to buy the connection. So 2G smartphones completely degrowing in terms of their size, because of 3G, 4G on top and non-data on the bottom. Coming to the next slide about 3G, 4G and 2G devices in terms of pricing. Essentially what this says is that there has been a huge fall in the device cost in the last 3 years. From 2013 to 2015, the top one is about 2G, the middle one is about 3G, and the bottom one is about 4G. There is approximately a 70% fall in the cost of devices. Today, we can even get 4G devices at prices as low as 4,000 rupees. So the cost of devices is becoming less of an impediment for adoption of a higher technology in terms of data. So consumer can today buy a 3G device for 2,500, a 4G device for 4,000 and start using data. Also, the 4G launch strategy of most of the operators has been that they have priced 4G data equal to 3G data. So given the fact that the data pricing is very, very similar, 4G equal to 3G, the device cost is not drastically different, a 2,500 vis-a-vis a 4,000. There is a lot of consumers who will be directly going to a 4G connection with a 4G device, at least in the first half of 2016. Coming to the next slide, which is about spectrum scarcity. Spectrum, as all of us know, is like a natural resource and it's completely scarce, at least in India. We have done a quick mapping of available spectrum and what is the spectrum per subscriber which is available, either already available or in the pipeline. So if you see a country like an Australia or USA, the available spectrum is 2 hertz per subscriber. In India, the total available spectrum plus the one in pipeline comes to 0.2 hertz per subscriber. So obviously this available spectrum itself is one of the lowest in the country. So essentially this has 2 or 3 major implications. Point number 1, it's going to become that much more expensive to roll out data because availability spectrum, we need a lot of optimization to happen for consumers to get a similar quality of service. So obviously the cost of providing the data is going to be higher for the telcos. Second part is that there is going to be definitely some constraints in terms of speed. So although the initial speeds which are offered will be high, but as and when the number of subscribers goes up, because of lack of actual spectrum availability, the delivered speeds will be much lower than what can initially be, let's say, experienced at this point of time. So as and when the number of subscribers per particular site increases, the telco has got 2 options: either increase investments and increases, let's say, the capacity at those particular points, or bid for more spectrum. Since spectrum not available, the only solution left is to increase capex, which obviously means at some point of time, the cost of data, which is currently one of the lowest in the globe, will start moving up slowly. The fourth point which we spoke about is about network coverage, and we have given what is currently for the industry, what is the 2G, 3G, 4G split in terms of number of sites available today. This data is as of December 2015. So 52% of sites are currently 2G, around 14% are 4G, and approximately 34% are 3G. But when you go further into the urban-rural divide of 2G and 3G, we see that even though 4G is becoming extremely rampant now, in an urban place we have a 77% coverage of 3G, but in rural places even 3G is only 23%. So essentially we still have huge areas of coverage to actually happen before we can say a major part of India can successfully start using 2G, 3G or 4G data with a fairly good quality of service. And as you would be, I think all of you will be aware that the current rollouts are happening by almost all telcos at breakneck speeds. So efforts are being made to cover maximum amount of areas which are currently rural into 3G as well. And we also have most of the metros getting covered into 4G by the telecom operators. So that is something which will automatically happen. But that still remains to be a kind of fairly big impediment to mass adoption of data. The fifth point we spoke about was relevant content. Now, content relevance can be interpreted in many ways. One is about what is one of the key responses given by non-data users when they ask why don't you use data. The response given is that we don't think it's relevant. I don't know how to use it. So relevance of data becomes an important part. Once he is taught to use it maybe for chatting or for, let's say, for any kind of entertainment or any kind of productivity like email, then automatically the usage starts finding new avenues and the usage starts increasing in leaps and bounds. One of the unique parts, the behavior aspect of data is that the fundamental difference between voice and data is in voice, when you do more and more of rural expansion, what we see is that the usage per user generally starts falling. The MOU per user starts falling because you are moving more and more into SSC and D. But in data, what is happening is that as and when you start expanding into even rural areas, the usage per user in the urban areas and the covered rural areas start increasing exponentially. So if you see the last 4 years trends, the usage per user is just increasing. It is not decreasing, even in spite of the fact that we are going more and more rural. The reason being that there is a change in technologies happening, 2G to 3G, 3G to 4G. There is an increase in the use case scenario for consumers. Initially used only for, let's say, entertainment, then start using it for entertainment plus information, entertainment, information plus productivity. So the multiple uses, the use case for consumers goes on increasing. And also the fact that the usage increases because of the speed of usage. For example, a person who has a 4G connection obviously ends up using much more because there is more which you can actually download in the same amount of time. So there are a lot of factors which influence the actual usage, and relevance of content for non-users to users is a major impediment at this point of time. At the same point, I would also like to bring up the fact that there's extreme, I think, constraints in terms of vernacular content, both in entertainment perspective, and also if you see, one of the key data points is come out from even from YouTube is that maximum search happens in English. So consumers who don't know English, it's a fair large amount of population, don't have an opportunity to even get the right type of entertainment or the right kind of information which they actually desire. So availability of both input parameters as well as content in vernacular is extremely critical for growing internet adoption in India. There have been companies, especially of late, the Indian OEMs, which have started launching a lot of phones which have got vernacular keyboards. So there is I think a new model K9 which was recently launched, which again gave 23 different languages on the keyboard, which makes at least the input part easier. The output part obviously will also depend on the aggregators who are trying to aggregate content and bring it down as under one single umbrella, so that the search can work across multiple content providers rather than getting constrained to a specific content provider. Also the part that because of maybe technology constraints, if you see, compare the long format and the short format, currently more than 80-90% of the current usage is happening only on the short format because consumers don't have either the wherewithal to download large video formats. But going forward, as the technology changes from 3G to 4G, we will see more and more large format videos being downloaded rather than short format. Okay, and when we speak about relevant content, I think the biggest consideration today is social networking. Now there have been some data points again which I got, which says that 43% of consumer usage currently using Facebook happens only through a particular mobile, and 90% of Facebook users are happening through mobile. So there still are some concerns which is around compliance, around lack of control of what actually happens in social network, lack of time, lack of knowledge. But these all are adding to the fact that they don't really impact internet adoption, but they're more in terms of increasing the usage of internet once the consumer starts actually using internet. The average time a user currently spends on internet today on messaging is approximately 20-25 minutes, and around 40 minutes is 40% of total time is spent on mobile internet applications. Our internal data shows that approximately the amount of time spent by a 3G consumer on the phone today is approximately 156 minutes. That's the amount of time it spends. It's a combination of maybe social networking, about messaging, productivity. The average is approximately 2.5 hours. And coincidentally, there's also a research which shows that mobile also has, I think, of late become the preferred medium for even for advertising, because consumers are even the people who are spending money on ads are shifting more from TV to mobile and digital, because that gives them, the consumer, a much more personalized kind of a message, which ensures that it can also be customized to the kind of consumer that is actually seeing the message. Coming to the next slide, which is about the high data pricing. So I think all of us know the fact that India is, in terms of data pricing, one of the lowest in the world. So in spite of the fact that we are still one of the lowest in the world, if you compare the price of a 1 GB data with the actual per capita income, what we see is that 2.7% is the cost of a 1 GB compared to a per capita income. The same figure for a company for a country like Japan is around 0.3, and for South Korea it's 0.5%. So we are approximately 5 times more, or maybe 7 times more. So given the fact, I think the biggest issue is the fact that there is so much of, I think, poverty and people who can't afford. The cost of data, in spite of being the lowest in the world, is still appearing as a very high figure, and that again is, I think, one of the lower consumption, and also one of the reasons that internet adoption cannot grow beyond a particular level. Now, this was more in terms of industry and what actually are the factors which really affect the growth of internet adoption. Then coming to what Aircel as a company has done to make internet affordable. So I think one of the biggest innovation which was done some 6 months back and has yielded the best possible results is we have launched something called free basic internet. Now, what is free basic internet? So what we are saying is that on an average, we get 4 to 5 million consumers on board. What we are saying is that most of these consumers who are coming on board, a fair amount of them are first-time data users. They're consumers who may be upgrading from a feature phone to a smartphone. So most of the consumers do not even know as to how is it they can start using data. They don't know what a GB means. So what we did as a strategy is that we said any consumer who buys a new Aircel connection, for the first 3 months, we make internet completely free for him. So the free internet obviously is not at a very high speed. It's throttled at 64 kbps or a 32 kbps depending on 3G or 2G. But essentially we are making it completely free. So the consumer has a good chance of experiencing the internet. He understands what is it he can use it for. There are no barriers in terms of will it cost me a lot, because obviously the browsing rates in the industry are already very high. Consumers who don't know about browsing rates open up something by mistake and it ends up debiting a fair amount of their balance. So the entire issues about their balance getting debited and them not knowing what internet is all about, or they're not, for example, sending settings to them, which again is a charge. Consumers who put a SIM into a new Android phone automatically starts talking to the network and starts consuming data. So consumer starts again complaining, saying that I never use data, but I have a debit. So all these problems got resolved a single shot. So what we tell the consumer, 3 months, come and experience. And what we have seen from our experience, I think when you go to the next slide, is that most of the subscribers after a month decide that they want higher speed internet. They identify users of where they want to use internet. They know that these are the ones which consume more data, and they end up buying a pack which gives them a higher speed internet. So we tell them it is something like free basic internet, free for all. If you want higher speeds, please buy a data pack. So in terms of actual results, how has it actually fared? Consumer additions have gone up by 16%, and consumers who are born with data, that's how we actually internally track as to quality of customer, we went up by 22%. So consumers who buy a connection and they start using data right from month 1. We got a lot of revenue from new subscribers because the consumer addition itself went up by 16%. Giving free internet obviously has its downside as well, which is that the realization for the company, it goes down because the usage is much more than normal. And also there are a lot of consumers who feel that since they're getting it free, the marginal users, they don't end up buying packs. So they obviously use the free for 3 months and then they decide that they do not want, or they may end up buying another pack. But the paid pack revenues for the new users starts going down. But on the whole, I think this was one of the biggest innovations that we have done, and it is going on, and because of the fact that it has given such extremely good results, we have continued it further on, and it's still one of our major USPs, which is free basic internet across the entire country. So consumers buying a connection get free basic internet for a period of 3 months. And that is resulted also in our growing our gross adds in a substantial way. The second big innovation is about affordability. So what is it that consumers want? I think somebody who started using data feels that he has to be always online. That is one of the biggest things that came out in research during consumer research across multiple territories. So what actually happens is that data still is not being considered as a necessity. It is more of a indulgence, at least for the SEC B and C consumers. And for them, staying always online was a major high, saying that they wanted always to be online. They want to spend more time. They want to be checking their mails or their WhatsApp or their Facebook more often. But the problem which is obviously there is the affordability part. So there is 1 GB of data, which is for 3G approximately around 250 rupees. 1 GB of data, 2G is around 175. If you see about telecom ARPU, which is average usage per consumer is around 150. So although we say that data is cheap, but where is affordability? Because how many people can actually expect to spend 250 rupees on a 1 GB of data? And given the fact that the number of days of usage for average consumer is around 8 or 9, means that they end up buying smaller packs, spending little time on data, and spend lots of periods without actually using data. So given this consumer insight that they always want to remain online, the first innovation we did, I spoke to you about, was about FBI, which is free basic internet. But the second question came saying that this free basic internet is primarily for first-time users, consumers who are just entering Aircel. What about our entire base of consumers who are already on Aircel? A large amount of them are upgrading to smartphones. They also want to use, want to use data. They also don't want to spend too much of money. They want to first experiment and then see how much they can actually use and then decide to buy. So we launched something called a Chota pack and a Bada pack. So what is this Chota and Bada pack? Point number one is that we said that internet, especially given the fact that for new users should not be having any limitation, we made these packs as unlimited packs. So there was a fixed quantum which is limited. It's maybe a GB or maybe 100 MB for a day. But there is an unlimited aspect after that. So there is no concern in the consumer's mind that after he finishes using the data, he'll get charged for the data again. So that is also one of the biggest concerns even for the pack users, because once the pack gets over, there is charge which happens on the browsing, which is at a higher rate. So when the moment we brought up the fact that this is an unlimited pack, even though we had the data throttled after the initial quantum, but still it led to a very large percentage of consumers who are not using data to start using data. So this became a major hit. So we said that we can actually make India online at even 9 rupees a day. So this is unlimited 3G data, and at the same point of time, it is only at 9 rupees of a price point. So a lower price point, which even people who are, let's say, fairly cautious don't have a too much of a, the entry barrier goes down substantially. Because end of the day, if you don't like it, you can unsubscribe to it. What are you losing is actually only 9 odd rupees. But for 9 rupees, we gave consumers sometimes as high as 100 MB of data. So 100 MB at 9 rupees plus unlimited after that. So you can end up using the entire day. So without actually taking too much of money upfront from the consumer, we made him completely online. And this was supported by a fairly strong TV commercial, and we had a fair amount of POS and everything around it. And this again has become a major hit. So at this point of time, it's still on. So this is Chota and Bada Recharge, and Bada Recharge primarily for the heavy users who again want to use some stuff like 7 to 15 GB in a month. And they also obviously are getting a unlimited pack in the back end to ensure that even after the usage gets over, they still don't get charged for incremental data. So the campaign was tagged as See You Online, and it is currently on most channels. And this again is something which has really helped us in increasing adoption, primarily in the rural areas, because there the entry barrier was supposed to be a major reason for consumers not starting to try out data. So this was something like a sample pack at an extremely low price, which ensured that consumers who were not users in the past but had purchased smartphones and were on data-savvy devices started using our own data. The third big innovation which we have done in the last quarter was the fact that in data, most of us know that people don't talk in voice, people talk about talk time or in minutes. In data, it's only about GB. But most people still are not aware GB actually. And what give us. Earlier, affordability is a major issue. Completely reduce my rates because obviously we have 1 GB available to all at a price point of less than 100 rupees. But depending on his profile, we'll change the value of the product starting a week. For a user on video, 55 to 65 rupees for a 2G, and at 95 to 105 rupees for 3G, and made it available to each and every customer. Then we started promoting the fact that a GB means actually 20 hours of surfing, or you can use a Facebook for 12 hours. You can send 1,000 emails, send or receive. You can have 200 song downloads, 20 videos down streaming on YouTube. So the moment this kind of communication started going, the 1 GB for all became a major hit. Point number one, affordability is very high, 55 rupees for 2G for 1 GB. Point number two, customer knows exactly as to what he gets when he buys 1 GB. He knows that I can surf for 20 hours. I can keep my WhatsApp on for 30 days without too many downloads and uploads and still use only around 400 MB. So the consumer awareness about what a 1 GB could potentially do. And the third point and knowledge about GB really helped us in push extremely percentage of consumers who were earlier using only packs like a 5 rupees or 7 rupee pack upgrade to a 1 GB pack. And once they upgraded, they generally stuck on to it. So once the customer started using 1 GB, then he continues to use their 1 GB because they identify newer and newer uses of how that 1 GB can be actually utilized. Now coming to the what are the various product innovations that we've done to make internet affordable. So this was done over the period of last 1.5 years, and there have been a host of innovations which we have done to make the internet affordable. The biggest one was there was an audio connection issue. One of the reasons that e-commerce actually took off was the fact we shifted from making payments on credit debit cards to cash. So one of the biggest opportunity we saw there was that consumers who wanted to buy even bigger data packs, you had to use a credit card or a debit card to actually buy the pack uses. So what we said was that we'll start selling data paper coupons through e-commerce. So we contacted the big three partners of e-commerce, which is Flipkart, Amazon, Snapdeal. We started selling our data coupons, and the consumers do not have any concern because they pay cash only after receipt of the coupons. So there's no concern that I'll end up paying through a credit card, debit card. I don't get the data. He does not know with whom to follow up, the credit card company, the e-commerce company, or with the company which is actually selling the data. So this was a fairly big hit and started giving us good numbers, especially for the high ARPU customers, because consumers could order data from anywhere and pay money after buying the data pack rather than getting it through OTAP or through the air. The next one which we did was giving free voice with data. So obviously in many circles, we did both these innovations of buy data, get voice free, buy voice and get data free. So it was done for consumers who are using only voice. We said just buy voice and get data free. And that helped us in increasing internet adoption in a fairly big way, because consumers were not actually paying for any data, but getting it free as a sampling activity. And the moment they got it free, they started using. So that gave us, we saw that consumers who are non-data users, around 17% of consumers who were offered this converted to data users after getting free data with voice, and vice versa. In terms of service innovation, we tied up with companies called NextG, etc., where we said that any kind of content that he's buying, we started bundling it with data. And this was obviously slightly before the time on net neutrality, when we said that we could do content bundling. So consumers who are buying TV and getting this data free, obviously was a big hit for us, because the moment you buy this content, they need data to see it across, and that was something which we had done. And finally, we have also tied up in terms of with insurance companies and with OEMs, where we are giving that anybody buying a new phone starts getting a mobile internet pack free, so that the initial 3 months he starts getting free data rather than having you to use paid data. So the advantage is that he understands the actual way the data can be used, and there is a very strong baby care program along with it, which will ensure that somebody calls him up, explains the settings to him, and explains how he can use data and what are the various ways by which he can actually find out how much data he's used, what are the various ways by which he can increase his consumption. So that brings us to the end of the presentation. So in case of any questions, I can take them now.
Mr. Sunil, questions are already shared with you.
Yeah, I'll just say. Right. Okay, so I think I'm just taking the questions as they come. So I think one of the questions I'll start off with is, do you think the Reliance Jio data pricing will speed up the use of data? So in terms of pricing, I think Reliance Jio just launched something which happened today. I saw it in the papers today. But any new operator will definitely end up in increasing data adoption and data usage because there's just so many more people in the market making the noise. And also, there's expected that the rates of data will definitely fall once a new operator comes in. So data adoption will definitely happen. The only point I would like to add is that when we speak about 4G data company trying and launching 4G and reducing the prices, the chances are that the current data users will go there, and it's not that it's going to increase data adoption in the big way. So the rates of data will definitely fall, but data adoption is not going to get majorly impacted by a Jio coming in place.
Huh?
The next question was the concept of specifying 100 MB on unlimited data is not clear. So what we are saying is that I think the question is about by Mr. S. Gopalan on the Chota pack. So I think the point he's making is that at 9 rupees we give 100 MB, but the fact is that consumers do not know when they use 100 MB. After that, most likely what happens is that for a normal customer, they start charging the browsing rates, which is extremely high. So what we are saying is 9 rupees 100 MB plus unlimited. After the 100 MB gets over, then it starts moving to unlimited, in which case he does not have to have any concern about his type of usage. There'll be a slight difference in the speed of usage, of course, but he need not be concerned that after the 100 MB is over, he'll stop using data. How do you educate the customers, particularly in the rural areas, to use data? This is Mr. Biju Matthew. I think so. There were 4 or 5 ways by which I mentioned that we educate customers in the rural areas. So there are the first and foremost is we have something called baby care, which is used for consumers who are already there on the base. The moment there is a new customer which comes on base, we have something called ADC, which gives us a prompt saying that there's a new customer who has purchased the new device and he's come on base. So the first step we do is we send the settings from the backend to the customer. The customer does not have to do anything. If you notice, automatically the device gets configured to become data enabled. The second thing we do is that there is an SMS which goes. We tell the customer that in case you would like to experience data, just send an SMS, one premium data to 123, and from the backend we give them free data so that he does not have to spend any money in getting the first lot of data. The third thing which happens is for new consumers, there is a separate welcome call which goes in, which explains to them what the data charges are, what the options that they have in terms of using data, how they can use it, and what will be the browsing rates and the non-browsing rates. So there are multiple ways by which we actually focus rural areas to enhance that. The first step is to ensure that the customer understands what he's buying, and going forward, what we do is that we try to give information about how to upgrade, in the sense like he's currently using a 2G pack, but he's got a 3G device. We tell him to change the SIM slot to a 3G where he can get a better speed. So multiple ways by which we try to guide the customer to ensure that the customer gets information about how to use the data. Can I make this screen bigger? Make it bigger? Okay. So I think the next question by Siddhanta Suchit is, is there a possibility of majority of 2G users directly jumping to the 4G without experiencing 3G? So I think this is definitely going to be a big phenomena, especially in the urban areas where there is a very high percentage of phones getting sold as 4G phones. So if you noticed, I had given the current base of 2G, 3G and 4G. So the majority of our slides are, sorry? Yeah, no, thank you. So majority of our current base, if you see, is 2G phones. So, and if you see the IDC data for Q1, the number of 4G phones are more than that of 3G phones. So there's a very high possibility that the upgrade of a 2G customer is going to directly happen on 4G. And if this is going to happen in an urban area like a Delhi, Chennai, Bombay, where 4G rollouts have already happened, there's going to be a direct upgrade from 2G to 4G, and nobody's going to go via 3G. The only other point I would like to mention is, but in most of the places, I think companies, telcos are still fairly aggressive in 3G rollouts. So in those markets, which is primarily rural, I would say that the transition will be more of 2G, 3G, and then 4G rather than 2G to 4G straight. So Mr. Ripon Singh has asked, availability of data spectrum is also concerned. Is Aircel looking at hybrid technology to put load on Wi-Fi, non-licensed spectrum in fixed areas? See, so there is a fairly big activity currently happening between TRAI and most telcos, where what we are actually doing is that we are trying to make Wi-Fi as a common resource, irrespective of the ISP or the TSP who is providing the Wi-Fi. So essentially what we are saying is that at some point of time, there will be an option where the consumer can buy a 100 rupee voucher from, let's say, a Paytm or a Rupee, and he can use that across all Wi-Fis in the country. He does not have to bother as to whether Wi-Fi is being provided by Ozone or by Ticona or by Aircel or by anybody else. So that is something which is already happening, and that's been driven by the government. So there is a very high chance that this will definitely help consumers in a big way. It will also help the ISPs and the TSPs in a big way, because for them the payment gets guaranteed from the back end. So the voucher, whoever is providing the payment gateway to this will ensure that the consumer pays up to the payment gateway. Payment gateway ends up paying to the ISP or the TSP. So that's something which is on the rocks, and it will be happening hopefully by end of 2016 or middle of 2017. And once that happens, spectrum availability will not get resolved, but at least it will get optimized. See, next question is by Mr. Ajay Jha on the multilingual concern. So this is there at so there are, I would say, three major parameters for the concerns on multilingual from a vernacular perspective. Point number one is input to devices. That's something which I already mentioned. These companies like Micromax, Carbon, etc. are already handling it. Their new models, most of them, have got keyboards in Hindi and multiple vernacular languages. Two is consumer awareness in terms of data usage, etc. So for that, I think most telcos have got a separate call center which is completely vernacular, which is addressing concerns, which tells them consumers about how to subscribe for data, etc. there. The third thing is availability of regional content, and that I think is still a big bottleneck, because there are no content aggregators at this point of time. So for example, I mean, if I want to look for a particular Tamil song, I mean, there could be some 10 different people who are trying to provide link to the Tamil song. So in which case, it is difficult for me as a consumer to go to 10 different places and start looking. Today, what we generally do is go to Google, identify the best possible site, and then go directly. The aggregation has not yet happened for vernacular content in India, and that would still remain to be a big constraint, at least in the near foreseeable future. But the constraint of devices and the constraint of communication across to consumers, I think it's more or less taken care of. Next question is on IoT. I think all of us, I think most telcos are planning stuff on IoT. We already are doing a lot of work on IoT, albeit it's more of an enterprise level. Nothing much is happening at the consumer level at this point of time. But IoT, we understand, is going to be definitely an important part, given the fact that especially, I mean, if you see today, one of the biggest concerns, like I mentioned, was spectrum. In IoT, there are a lot of applications where the quantum of data required is less and the profitability is very high. So it remains a major part of our priorities, and going forward, I think IoT there is a fairly big plan to go with IoT.
Mr. Sunil, you can take this as your last question.
Please. Okay. See, so TRAI and government have this thing of spectrum not being efficiently utilized. I mean, I'm obviously, I don't think I want to comment on what their views are and what I think our response is. The only point I would like to make is that as a company, I would obviously try to optimize the spectrum available to me. I mean, I'm unlikely trying to make a system which is, let's say, giving me the best possible returns. So the flip side is that the spectrum availability is not in contiguous bands. So that itself plays a huge challenge in terms of how we are utilizing the spectrum, especially for a 4G. So there is a new technology by Qualcomm about how the spectrum integration can happen, and I think it can. Most of the current telcos are adopting it. There are two separate type of technologies, and I think you can easily go through the net on it. But I think the spectrum allocation itself remained the initial constraint for us to optimize it extremely high. But given the fact that whatever spectrum we have, I think we have done the best possible optimization given those constraints. Thanks a lot, all of you, for joining in this webinar. Thanks, CP. Thanks a lot, guys.